Hello there everyone, welcome back. It's time to face off against Tau this time. And while I had a little bit of difficulty fighting him with my Imperial Navy fleet, Eldar is going to have so much more of an easier time, I want to say. Just because of the bases alone that they have their pulsars, which just straight up negates armor, and as well as the armor, the adaptive deflector on the shields as well, is going to make it so much easier to just get that permanent damage on the hull if nothing else. Not to mention the fact the torpedoes and bombers, the secondary weapons of all my ships basically, is going to just ignore the shields entirely there. Bombers may have a little bit of trouble against the constant fighter waves that they're going to have access to with the protectors, and especially a custodian. I have a good potential to do work on this match. It's just the prow and all the weaponry that they can unleash on me if I execute this poorly. And while I didn't really pick the Eclipses and Shadow with that in mind, they are going to be useful for getting aggressive, and hopefully if I'm really effective with my Samson favor and just jamming his fleet, because with the Custodian being such a powerful presence with its aura that basically allows any neighboring ship to re-roll its point defense as well as the Custodian, it will make it a lot easier for me to jam his ships. As we see right away, he has 3 of his ships already in good close proximity. They may be a little bit too spread out for the same hand jamming, but we are looking promising for blinding his cruisers at least. I'm going to assume that's his cruisers. And his frigates, without a doubt, have stealth alloy, but he's going to do me a bit of a favor here shortly. As you just clearly see right now, he is revealing all his ships to me, which is really damn questionable considering I just said he had stealth alloy on the frigate. So why is he boosting towards me, I wonder? Not to mention the fact we get to see everything that he's feeling there, because apparently he has fire cache on the Sauce, he has water cache on the Fiora, and he's easily allowing me an opportunity to see his upgrades. And I am checking his upgrades here, and surprisingly enough, he doesn't have any of that to deflector, which is damn good for me there. It's probably not as impactful as it would be, say, against my Imperial Navy, which has, doesn't really have any jamming, or arm-piercing potential, especially at range, to kill him like as may appear with my championship series. This is a bit of an odd setup, it seems like. He's got enhanced range, I saw, with the lock-on, I think. He's got extra shields on his Custodian bombers, and everything is jammed, like I was talking about before. So I don't need to tell you how brutal this is, even with only 7 pulsars. That thing dies before I even get a chance to hit it with torpedoes. I wonder why that is. Was it because he forgot to launch his fighters, or did I just get really lucky with the bomber attack? I could not tell you. I'm not seeing any fighters here anyway, so that works perfectly for me. If he's going to be inexperienced and not know how to make use of his Custodian, I'm just going to wreck it there. As I kind of make it the priority of my attacks right now, with the Sauce out of the way, and it quite frankly being the closest one to me. And he even launched the Manta Bombers I just noticed over towards the frigate, which is kind of silly of him. But with me kind of silencing his ships, or jamming his ships quite effectively, and using silent running all this time, at least for my Eclipses anyway, I guess he had nothing else to really go after. And unfortunately, he does kill the Hellborn, but damn, just taking the Custodian bombers is enough value out of that thing, I want to say. Because otherwise, that thing's going to be wrecking my Eclipses and my Shadows. That thing's going to be wrecking me quite heavily if I ever let it get in close. Shadows, in theory, should be pretty good at denying them so long as I don't get too aggressive with my bombers. I kind of need to replenish my fighters as they look like they're already getting shot down quite well by some enhancements to the point defense, I want to say. I try to continue my fire on the Custodian, but of course the Protector is getting a little bit aggressive. It's getting in my face a little bit there, so I kind of need to change my tactic a little bit. And this is getting a little bit risky now with my Shadows at least, because I did just launch more bombers. And even though he has no fighters, it does mean, unless I could jam him again there at some point, I'm vulnerable to another Manta Bomber wave coming up pretty soon. So this could have been a little bit of a mistake, as especially since my false maneuver is not quite available there. I was a little bit slow getting that on the second eclipse there. It just had that ramp, but damn, we still got ourselves a kill. As we are actually having a bit of a slowdown. I do freak out a little bit, wondering what the hell's happening, if it was latency or something, but it does fix out momentarily. I have no idea what caused that during that match, because if anything about Eldar, latency of any kind is going to be a death for me, just because it's going to encourage my ship stopping, if not committing suicide if I were to do an attack run at that point. So that's not something you want to have happen. And he's still refusing to launch his fighters, so I don't know what to make of this match. It's not as intimidating as it could have, because there was a lot of windows his Manta bombers could have probably just ruined my day there. And I believe he even has an auger, was it a recon probe to stick on one of my ships too there, which I haven't even seen at all, so he catapulates. I don't quite know what to make of that match, especially now that I'm looking at the replay. Beforehand, it just seemed too easy. But it does bring up an interesting thought that I have about the capitulate. Because what's going to happen in match 2 is he's going to field that custodian again there. Apparently he did not suffer a loss to warp effect or whatever normally happens when you capitulate with your fleet. Which is going to be an interesting concern about sportsmanlike behavior, I want to argue, because if he tried to warp that out normally, even with the navigator, then I had such a perfect opportunity to kill that, and him catapulating actually robs me that potential. It robs me a chance of killing the custodian because of how valuable that ship is and how much of a thorn in my side it's been with my Imperial Navy fleet. I kind of would really like to have killed that ship. And if with an easy way to just deny me that kill, especially if you can just, I don't know, really not get punished for it. I'm not exactly sure what happens normally when you capitulate. It seems like an easy way to keep your ships alive without your opponent having any control or being able to say something about it. So that is my thought anyway. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say it wasn't like an intentional way to keep his custodian alive, but he is going to field that custodian again as I go back to the tried and true planetary assault, which I'm feeling pretty comfortable in. It's just hard to say if it's actually a good map or mission type for me there. It's really hard to say because of how one-sided these matches have seemed so far. I'm getting a bunch of 2-0 matches there. A few of my opponents don't seem to know how to play against Eldar, so that's also a factor as well. But in this case, we're just going to be fighting the custodian again. And I am feeling very confident again with all the stasis bombs to be able to retreat, especially with any aggressive play he's going to have. And I should be able to punish him really heavily if he decides to reveal himself, because after all, I got myself a damn Void Stalker this time. So many fighters, so many bombs to just eviscerate any ship that gets isolated. Never mind cancel out his custodian's bombers in that matter, because quite frankly, my fighters are far more superior than any energy shield of the Tau, of the custodian at least. Mine's, with the piloting skill though, is a little more random, as he once again reveals his ships. We got a Bastion, we got a Custodian, and he added in a messenger with the remaining points. But, nonetheless, I got the superior fighters here for that standoff that probably will happen, even with his superior numbers. He gets less attacks with his bombers, at least shooting at my fighters at least, so I'm very confident in taking those head on. It's just a matter of what do I prioritize, because with how long it actually was taking me to kill that custodian, I kind of feel like that may have been a mistake to fight the custodian so early on, especially with his protector easily being able to block my arc of fire, quite frankly, with how aggressive it was. I feel like that may have been a bit of a mistake in the first match, even though I still got like an amazing victory regardless. So I'm probably going to play this a little bit different there, try and snipe out any isolated ships, give me a little bit of freedom of range to not worry about him chasing after me aggressively, because that Bastion, that Custodian still has the same speed as that Protector did, so it can get close to me if I get a little careless. But, like I said before, I'm going to isolate ships and I kill the messenger, although that's kind of pointless, isn't it? Because the custodian, quite frankly, is a better messenger in almost every single way. As I hide my ships there, deny him the vision as he decides now to go after the beacons. And I'm going to turn my attention to the bastion this time, with a whole bunch of maelstroms to start just slowly chip it down. And hell, this Aurora alone just helped take out a bunch of those bombers that were going after my beacon there. And I think, yeah, the Void Stalker fighters also, of course, took that out some. I don't know if they all got shot down. Okay, they're all gone now. I lost all my fighters there, but with Salt running and the Bastion already gone, we're looking promising. All I lost here was a beacon and about 100 health. Well, 150 health on one of my Auroras, which, thankfully, with the upgrades to the Farseer, what is it? No, it's not the Farseer. I forget which one is the one that improves my repairs. Nonetheless, improving my engineering, my emergency repairs, is basically going to negate that almost completely. As we turn our attention to the Custodian now, that is the Isolate ship. My torpedoes are probably not the most promising there, as the first salvo misses completely without him even trying, but the second two are going to look really promising until he turns out of the way. And this time around he actually did launch his fighters this time to deal with the torpedoes, and even with my superior fighters, my superior torpedoes, he's still doing a good job of taking them out. Especially if I'm staggering him like I am. But he's stuck in a stasis bomb at this point. He's losing his control of his ship just because the Nikasa are kind of in the way. And the Maelstrom is going to get amazing value here. He's not even trying at this point. Which does make it sad that I even have to bring up this video, because quite frankly I have no other matches till I get a chance on the weekend. Or whenever I can get an actual match to bring you. So this is pretty much the last one I managed to get before when I actually did get matches. So nothing very exciting here. It's not exactly a match I would have liked against Tau, because they are definitely very vicious with all the sheer number of railguns they have access to. As the Vortex, the Maelstrom, glows a bright red on the destruction of the Custodian. I gotta say, if nothing else, Korn is probably happy with all the lives that just were lost there. But in all honesty, this was a pretty straightforward match. Nothing to really learn, nothing to really gain, aside for the fact that his protectors, his Sasays, his emissaries, are so easy to kill once I get my attacks on him, even with just the pulsars apparently. And I was just murdering with like 2 eclipses there. Imagine how quickly I would destroy the ships with like this 4 Auroras and the Void Stalker that I use for my 700 point battles. If he does not have a supercharged Void Shield, those things are probably going to immediately die. And of course that makes this a really damn short match, doesn't it? It's unfortunate. I'm hoping to get some more matches, some better matches for you all though.